Welcome to part one of the setup. I am the Kid Plot host. Introduce yourself.
How you doing, everybody? Thank you for being here in this new episode of The Setup.
Yes. So this is Dr. Beltran, everyone. I'm going to be interviewing her today, and we're going to be finding more about her, knowing more about her. So we're going to start off with just a few questions, and then we're just going to have a regular conversation. How's that sound?
Sounds great.
All right, awesome. So tell me a little bit about you.
Well, what can I say about
Anything.
me? I'm horrible at trying to talk about me.
Really? Okay, so then I'll be a little bit more direct then for the question. So you have a passion for children. You love children.
I do.
You love their safety. You care about their well-being.
Absolutely.
So how did that passion start?
So, well, you are born with it, right? But you don't know how to actually put it out there other than being a parent with your own children. So as a parent, you always, are like making sure that your kids are, where they are. But I actually expanded this passion that I have. At the beginning, I probably was the beginning of 2003, 2004. I became a volunteer of the alternative schools in the state of Georgia. So alternative schools are the ones where the kids are sent. We're going to refer kids, but actually we're talking about juveniles. But so they are sent to these alternative schools once they behave bad, and they go through what is called the 3 strikes. And once they actually use all their strikes, they are sent to these schools, and then you have them go there and see if they can make up, behave well. This time, and they go to another 3 strikes again, and then they are kicked out of the system. So while I was doing that, I also became part of a volunteer for the special unit, gang suppression unit.
How did you get involved with that unit?
I was doing a lot of community work
Okay.
at the time, and I got to know the police officers and stuff, and I wanted to become a police officer myself.
Okay.
So I think that's what gave me kind of a little bit of introduction of what was like coming from a family where my father was a homicide detective and my mom was a teacher. So I
Wow.
grew up in a very structured family.
Yeah.
I became in contact with the police officers, and I started volunteering with them with the gang suppression unit and working along with the community to try to help and rescue the kids that were involved in gangs, especially Latino kids in the state of Georgia. So that developed further and further. I became a police officer, and for some reason, I keep attracting all the cases of juveniles.
Where were you a police officer?
I was a police officer for the state.
For
Georgia? For
Georgia?
the state of Georgia.
Okay.
Yes. And so I was first detention officer, so I worked in the jail. And then from there, I moved on to the road and work on the road. So while I was on the road, I kept coming across, I don't know what it was. It was just an attraction, I guess, coming across juveniles with trouble. And
So is on the road, is that patrol?
it's patrolling.
Patrol
yeah.
unit.
Your
Okay,
patrol.
gotcha.
You had your patrol,
Patrol
and then
unit,
you
okay.
patrol the streets, right?
Okay, got it.
So keep coming, like pulling over. I have very funny cases that I remember. Like one time we had a chase down in one of the main highways here, and I'm the responding officer. So we go down there and we pull them over. Finally, we see the car stops at a certain point, and all forces around the area responded to that call. And I was a sergeant at the time.
What year was this?
We're talking about between 2004 and 2007, late 7 to 8.
Okay.
So I was a sergeant, and I remember that one of the police officers from another department actually opened the door to get the person who was driving, and they pulled him by the shirt like this and hang him, and it was a kid. And they tell me, Sergeant, do you want him? And I'm
Wow.
like, what? So ended up being one 10-year-old and I think it was an 8-year-old.
Were they
took
were
the
they
van.
were they like from another country, or were they from here?
No. There was right here in Marietta.
But I mean, where were those kids
They
from?
were Americans.
They were American.
Yeah,
Okay.
they were Americans, Caucasian kids.
Okay,
So
okay.
they had taken the van from their grandmother to go see their father, who was in jail in Tennessee. And it was a sad story, and we took him. And of course, it was funny because the younger brother, as soon as the police officer showed up, he was just talking and talking, telling everything, while the one that was driving was tough. And I'm not going to tell you anything. You're not going to, I'm not going to give you no information. And keep telling the brother, shut up, shut up. Like
Wow.
one was the tough kid and the other one was
Yeah.
the soft kid.
Right.
So I remember we had to arrest them and take him to the police station and wait until the parents show up. But stories like that, it kept coming up. And it was so much to the point that they started calling me Sergeant Mama at the police department. So every single case they had juveniles, they would put on my desk and have me handle and go to juvenile court and to the juvenile jail and take them over there under custody and stuff like that. So from there on, after I leave police work, I become, I go back to college and, deal with my doctor and everything else.
What did you get a PhD for?
It's called forensic behavior.
Okay.
So the degree says forensic psychology, but in the state of Georgia, it is illegal to call yourself a psychologist, even when your title from college tells you that you are one. So it is illegal until you get it validated with the board, and then to get it validated with the board, you have to go to certain standards, and you have to go to a specific universities, and everything is a mess. So you ended up, just call it forensic behavior because we are the kind of people who evaluates behavior. Okay. So basically that career was meant to be to work with law enforcement, FBI, and so you can do a profile in somebody's behavior, and you can analyze, and you can basically profile, somebody based on their deviant behavior.
So tell me a little bit about your training with the GBI. Why was that? Why did you decide to do that?
So that came in. So while you are in law enforcement, you go through a lot of training, right? But decided to leave the police force late in 2007. It came to the situation. I was a single mom, and it came to the situation where I had to choose if I was going to continue to be a police officer or I was going to be a mom. Okay. So I confronted a lot of challenges, not only financial, but I had a teenager at the time, and I have a younger kid with special needs. So, I was working night shift. It was very, very challenging.
Wow.
So I decided to be a mom. So I left police work, with tears in my eyes because I think it was a career that I absolutely adore and loved. But I had to do it. So when that happens, I transition into let's go back to college. I had to prepare myself better. I want to have, a career. I want to make more money. I'm a single woman, so I have to really man up here for the kids, right? So I go through that.
You couldn't do night shift as a police officer?
I did night shift, but as you do night shift, it's midnight. And that was the challenge because me speaking Spanish and working in the special units like DUI, you work all night. And then my kids were at home. I had a teenager with a 7-year-old with special needs, and all night long.
Wow.
So that wasn't easy.
Yeah.
So I decided to, leave the career, my passion behind, and just dedicate myself to do something different while I was with my kids every night.
So you have 2 kids?
2 boys.
Okay, gotcha.
Yes. So basically what happened is from there, I go to college, I graduate, I have a job here and job there. I became a real estate appraiser, I remember. And then got into the hypnosis. Hypnosis, but hypnosis, like clinical hypnosis, like the one that you use to help people.
Okay.
So I go to that school while I was going to the other school. So I was doing several things at the same time. And became a therapist. And then how I started working for this clinic at the time, and when I did all my interns and all stuff in that clinic under one of the clinical psychologists. Okay. So go from there and become later on, open my own clinic. And then from there is when I become, again, to be part of understanding, what's going on with the youth in Georgia. I had no idea because I never experienced it with my kids. I knew as a police officer there were gangs, and I knew as a police officer there were a lot of challenges for boys and girls out there of certain age.
Right.
I knew all this stuff, but as a police officer, but I never knew it was that bad.
Mm.
So I started coming in contact with more and more parents that were desperate. They didn't know what to do with their teenagers. They were running away. There were people taking them, being kidnapped, all this stuff. And I was like, what's going on?
Right.
And I don't know. I just felt that I wanted to help somehow. And because since my kids were safe, and I think I shared that pain from other parents that were going through this,
Right.
and I said, well, me being the person who likes to help everybody, I said I got to do something about this,
Right.
and I start to look for ways to help. So through that, I started researching, and it took me about 2 years to research this. By the time I had put together a program, and the program became AYA, by that time I had already finished school, I graduated, had my doctorate and all the stuff in line.
So is AYA an academy you started?
Yeah, it's a
Okay.
program that I started that was an alternative to incarceration.
What does that AYA stand for? Does that stand for
It's
anything?
Alternative Youth Academy. So
Alternative
we
Youth
call it
Academy, okay.
Alternative Youth Academy at the beginning. Later, we changed the name because we don't want the kids to feel identified with the alternative school.
Okay.
So we changed the name later on,
Okay.
years later. But that's how we start. So it starts as a program. It's not an academic program. It was a program for behavior modification. And this is something that has to be established and very clear. Behavior modification, it was not an academic program. So we started with a program, a homeschooling.
Okay.
Okay, so there were booklets of a homeschooling. So that way the kids, because one of the things that I thought is they cannot be falling behind,
Right.
from school. That way, by the time they're allowed back into the school system, they have already some credits, so they have already catch up. Okay, so that was the whole purpose of the program. So we make an alliance with a school in Tennessee that is accredited all over the United States. So we start with that program. Then later on, we acquire other accreditations. So the program at the end had 3 different accreditations that were running. So we established the program with the behavior modification as a therapeutic program.
Okay.
Then in the middle, we had something for to control these kids in a discipline. So we thought, the method that has been successful for years is the military. So we did a semi-military program, where we hire actual military people that were able to implement what they learned at the academy and many different places. And then we had the academic program, which was really not that strong because we were not an academic program. We were actually a behavior modification program. So most of the things that we wanted to teach these kids that were in the program was to respect, follow rules, okay, and do the right thing. That was the only thing we wanted to teach them.
Right.
But we have a different kind of kids that were coming to the program with many different issues. So that's how AY started back on 2010, 11,
Okay.
around there.
And is it still? Do you still have that AYA now, or is it shut down?
No. AY is no longer out there. There was
Okay.
a situation that went on in 2015 that, I had to explain,
Okay.
step by step how that went.
So it's my understanding that AYA was targeted. Is that right?
Yeah, it was targeted.
And is that the reason why you shut down?
Yes, I shut down in 2015 after we were raided by a bunch of governmental agencies.
So it was targeted by the government.
So this is what happened. Back on 2013, I became in contact with the human traffickers.
The
And-
actual people that
yes.
were trafficking children.
See, AYA was a very complex program, okay? Not only that we had the homeschooling academic program, which we found, I got it accredited with 2 other agencies besides that one. Then we had the discipline area, which was the paramilitary or boot camp part of the program. Then we had the mental health, and then we also had like a small law enforcement division. It's called the Juvenile Rescue Unit. So that unit started to work hand to hand with different police departments. I was the head of that unit as a police officer, and the ones working in that unit were all police officers.
Okay.
I mean, certified by the state of Georgia.
But what makes you say that it was targeted by the government? Are you talking local government?
Yes, but let me get. I'm gonna walk
You're
you
gonna walk
there.
my. Okay,
Yes, I
okay.
am going
Take
to
me.
walk
Take
you
me.
there.
Take me on a ride. Go ahead. I'm listening.
Exactly. So what happened in 2013, 2014, and 2015? I get involved in the human trafficking, and I get involved so much that I know how do they operate. I know their phone numbers they're calling parents.
You know the phone number of the human traffickers.
Back then.
That's what I'm saying. Back
They
then.
change them all
But
the
back
time.
then, you knew the
Back
phone
then.
number of the
Yes.
actual traffickers.
They were calling. I know the numbers they were calling in. They changed the numbers constantly,
How
but I
did-
could recognize the numbers they were calling.
How did you get those numbers?
Because they call you in. They call your phone.
Wow.
And the parents write down the numbers. And the
And
kids.
then the parents give it to you.
Yes. And then we could
Got
call
it.
back and stuff like that. And they have very sophisticated phone systems.
Wow.
You know, you're dealing with a very organized crime organization when they can track down your number even when you block it.
Wow.
Okay.
Okay.
So these people is very well organized. Remember, the human trafficking, especially child trafficking, is a multi-million-dollar industry in the United States, not outside United States, in the United States.
Wow.
So we began to come across more and more of these cases, and so much to the point that at some point I had to negotiate with them because they have taken one of our students.
Hold on. Time out. You had to negotiate with the actual
With the
human
kidnappers,
trafficker.
yes.
With the kidnappers.
Yes, yes.
Okay.
We negotiated. I had to myself. It was nobody else. It was
Yeah.
me. I had to negotiate with them because they were taking one of our kids away.
And they were in America or they were in another country?
They were right here in Gwinnett County.
So you were negotiating with criminals
Yes.
in Gwinnett County, Georgia. So they weren't
Yes.
even like outside of the state.
No.
Okay.
They were here and they had taken one of our girls.
And you couldn't just lock them up?
No, because I was working with an undercover unit, an intelligence unit. So, no. We were working all together. It was a special operation. So, I had to
Wow.
negotiate with them and have them
Okay.
convince them to give me the girl they had in the
Right.
car.
So
which she
were
was
they
being-
I'm sorry to cut you off. Were they threatening to like hurt the girl if
No.
if the
This-
negotiation didn't
No. It's not the bad guys from the movies that you
Okay.
think of.
Well, that's because that's what
They
okay.
are just cool guys. They just talk to you and tell you, well,
But
we're
what
gonna
are they trying to negotiate? What do they want?
So
Money?
they were transporting the girl to a safe house that they had in Gwinnett County.
Okay.
Okay, in Gwinnett County where they have more girls and boys of the same age. And we're talking about 13 to 16, 17 years old.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and they were transporting this girl. They were about to be picked up from that location to be taken out of the state.
Okay.
So she was being transported at that time to there. Once she set foot in that house, we probably were not going to be able to see her again because they were going to be chipped out. And that's
Okay.
one of the cases. And we were able to negotiate with them and have them drop her off, at a certain location where we could rescue her.
Mm-hmm.
And then we had another situation different with a girl that was being taken to Dominican Republic. She was a 13-year-old. They would already worked with her. They would already had set a bunch of pictures of her, showing her body, with heels and dress up like a grown-up woman when she was only 13. And they were
Wow.
already negotiating her pictures and her looks.
Wow.
And so on that one, the traffickers already had her, and she was just coming home to pick up her passport. So she could leave.
This sounds like some Sound of Freedom stuff.
It sounds like, yeah, I know. This
the
movie, when it
movie.
came out, is actually the truth.
Yeah.
This
sounds
is
like
the
it.
truth. It's what's
Wow.
really happening. I'm telling you because I've been there.
You've been there, yeah.
Yes. So these kidnappers were already scaring the mom, and they had her so scared enough to give her the passport of the child to take her to Dominican Republic internationally.
So what did they want though? Like what were they trying to negotiate? in order to give you
the freedom. They want to take him. Give me the passport. My mom has to give me the passport. Am I gonna get the girl out of here quick enough? I need the passport. And the mom.
I'm just trying to understand. So when you said that you were negotiating with the kidnappers directly,
Okay.
so my question is, what is it that the kidnappers wanted? Because you were trying to get the children, right? So what did they want in exchange?
So they're already tracked down. The police is on their butt. Okay. Give me the child, or we're going to interfere, your trip, and you're all going to jail.
Okay.
So that's the negotiation. You give it to me right now for your freedom.
Oh, so they wouldn't get locked up.
Exactly.
Okay, got it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Exactly.
Okay.
So you give me the girl right now, I let you go.
And I'll let you go.
Exactly. So that's how that basically works.
So just to be clear, I want to make sure that, this is clear. Who targeted AYA?
Believe it or not, AYA was targeted by the local government.
Wow. So we're going to stop right there. We're going to continue this conversation in part 2. So y'all stay tuned.